Hello everybody, my name is Poison Ducky, and today we're going to have another Total War Warhammer 2 replay. I will be playing as my favorite Elven faction, the Dark Elves, versus the mighty Greenskins. Sorry, my throat's a little mucusy. Today I just had a little spicy lunch, so let's get into the army introduction. I'm going to have a front line of just normal bleak swords, nothing too special. They'll hold the line, they'll die valiantly for the Dark Elf cause. So we're going to make sure the front line doesn't buckle immediately. We're going to have 2 units of Harganeth Executioners. These are the armor-piercing anti-infantry units. Very, very good against Black Orcs, because that's going to be the main problem for this army, Black Orcs. Of course, 3 units of Dark Shards, only one of them having shields. I don't expect too much skirmish power from the Greenskins. Greenskin skirmish power is better than what most people think, but in this case, it's not good enough for me to get all of them shields, and plus I was saving a little bit money for what you'll see soon. I'm going to have 2 units of Dark Riders on the left flank, a little vanguard outflanked, make sure they're below a hill so they cannot be in vision of the Greenskin army. Just give some backline pressure, take out the rusty arrers, any sort of archer unit that they have. And on the right flank, I'll have a Cold One Knights, anti-large spear unit, very good, just good against, Greenskins have a problem in that their orc boar boy bigguns, their anti-large cavalry, they're just not very cost effective, and Cold One Knights are very cost effective in that matchup. And to support them, 2 units of Cold One Chariots. Can't go wrong with 2 Lizard Chariots. Such a fantastic unit. I really like this. I like Chariots in general. They're kind of like micro traps. They're really hard to micro, but when you get them going, they're just so fun to watch, and they just deal a lot of damage. And of course, my lord is going to be Lokir Felhard. He's my favorite lord of the Dark Elves, hands down. Malekith is fun, but having Lokir is just, you don't have to micro him too often. You kind of just send him in, and he does the damage. And of course, I'm going to have a Lore of Shadows, because I just love Melkos. Melkos Mystifying Miasma, the minus 24% speed is really just a godsend, and plus the Enfeebling Foe, plus the Penumbral Pendulum, pretty good combo of taking down Black Orcs. Now my opponent on the hand is going to have a pretty, excuse me, pretty low tier, I would say, front line of just goblins. So my bleak swords are going to do actually just fine against him. Goblins, of course, he's going to have one of the Regiment Renowns. There's a weird bug going on lately that it doesn't tell you which Regiment or Renown it is, but this looks like the Warlord's boys. Actually, wait. These are the Apic Loonies, because they have the Loony ability. So goblins, night goblins, spear goblins, backed up with a line of arrers, one of them being the rusty arrers. He does bring savage orc arrow boys, so they're going to be good in melee, and he's going to support them with 2 units of black orcs, and his lord, the mighty Grimgor himself. Not the best lord in the game, but look, he's just a fun guy. He just does a lot of damage, and he's menacing. And of course, he's going to have an orc shaman with the lore of the Big Wah. Nothing like that, but here is a little special. He's going to have a unit of orc boar boy bigguns in the forest hidden, and he's going to have one unit in the front kind of vanguarding. So it's scary, right? Not knowing he has those units is like quite good, considering orc boar bigguns, like I said earlier, are just not very good at fighting. They're not good at, they're not cost efficient. But if you get the charge, you get the sneak attack, they can be worth it. So 2 units hidden in the forest to try to screen out my approach. Now let's get into the battle. Now I'm going to have the terrain advantage, I suppose. I have an uphill. I can set up here. And I'm going to make sure I see the Orc Boar Boy Bigguns, and I'm going to move my Cold One Knights over here. At this point, I don't see the enemy Orc Boar Boy Bigguns in the forest, so I'm going to move my chariots over to the edge and try to get some skirmishing. Maybe run through some enemies, do some decent damage. And I see that he's going to charge at my my little Dark Riders. So Dark Riders, not the best unit, especially at fighting. They're very cheap, only really meant to fight skirmishers. So I'm going to cast the Melkos Asthma. His speed goes down to 48, which is nothing compared to the downhill 74 speed. And they're going to get crushed by Cold One Knights. And strangely enough, they actually deal a lot of damage to the Cold One Knights. Like, a lot more than I expected. So they're going to trade rather efficiently, actually, for the orc player, and he's going to get some arrows in here, which is going to be very dangerous. So I'm going to try to get my Cold One Knights out of here before they get charged by a crap ton of gabos. And we're going to start our archer fire. There's a huge clump of units here in the center. I'm going to have the Dark Shards firing into that blob while I do some backline pressure. I got my Cold One Chariots. I charged through the Black Orcs. I killed 0 models, actually. Oh, there goes 2 models right from the archer fire. But I slowed them down, and I broke their formation. The Chariots are going to go in. I see this juicy, juicy backline of archers, and I'm ready to just charge through. They really can't do too much. The Cold One Chariots do not care and will go straight through that blob and deal. Look how much damage they did in just the charge, and his back line is sufficiently compromised. He is going to try to countercharge with his Orc Boar Bigguns, but they are just not fast enough to catch up. Now a Foot of Gork going on here, going to take out my Harganeth Executioners. I did a misplay, guys. I grouped them up a little bit too much, so he gets a good amount of value out of the Foot of Gork. Now I'm going to send in Lokir Felhart here. He's just going to deal the damage that he needs to do. Going to charge into these Black Orcs, which is not the best matchup per se. But he's going to deal the damage that he needs to do. Of course, he is kind of a duelist slash assassin, but he can deal well against any form of infantry. Dark Shards are doing well. They're just getting their fired in. They're not being pressured too well. Nothing. He doesn't really have anything too pressure. He doesn't have Goblin Spider Riders or any sort of Wolf Rider unit, so they're just going to be free range firing into the enemy blobs of units. Unfortunately, right as I said that, he does get 1 unit of Orc Boar Bigguns, but I'm going to reduce their speed again with another Miasma and get my Chariots in there. Now, Chariots are not the good matchup I need, but they're the mass that I need to pin them down and deal some damage, especially with my Dark Shards. Bleak Swords are doing well, and the backline of archers is just crumbling. We have got routing Savage Orc Airboys. The Rusty Arrows keep on running and can't get their value out of their ammunition. And the Bleak Swords are going to be appropriately pressuring the backline, per se. Of course, being stopped by goblins, but this is a pretty good value trade. My stats are 43 and 30 versus the 26 and 24. The only thing holding them back is the poison from the Night Goblins, but the Bleak Swords should do well in this matchup because of the increased melee attack. Now, I am doing a little bit of blobbing here. It's mainly because of these Black Orcs. Black Orcs are a pain to take down. Even my Sorceress is getting into here, as my Black Orcs essentially just... They're the biggest problem that the Greenskin roster has. They're just so good at pretty much everything. The only thing that can stop them is consistent cavalry chargers from armor-piercing units. Something like the Dragon Princes or something like... not Chaos Knight with Lances, but like Grail Guardians stuff. Something like that. I'm going to do an Enfeebling Foe, make sure their combat effectiveness is down, and even Grimgore himself makes it onto the battlefield, swinging at my Cold One Chariots. Now, I'm going to realize soon that the Cold One Chariots are not very effective in this combat scenario, and I'm going to take them out and make them sure they pressure the back line of archers again. As they start to come back, Greenskins are very well known for kind of a resurgence of units. And as I'm spectating this match, I just realized my opponent never used his Wa. I'm kind of confused here. Maybe he was new. Maybe he didn't understand how powerful the Wa can be. In fact, the Wa is what wins a lot of Greenskin frontal engagements, and I suppose that's why my Harganeth Executioners and my Bleak Swords didn't get crumped straight off the bat from goblins. But I'm going to be holding back Grimgore Ironhide with some Bleak Swords. The Dark Riders are going to be just holding back the Orc Boar Bigguns. They're going to die, of course, because that's not the great matchup at all. And I'm going to use the Cold One Chariots to just get these archers out of here. Oh, there it goes. My opponent finally remembers that the Wa is indeed a thing, but too little, too late. I have won the frontal engagement, and the only thing left is to clean up the rest of these little gobos. They're going to get charged in by some Dark Riders. Oh, Dark Riders are so fast with their little spears. I don't bring the shielded variant, as they're meant to fight the skirmishers. It's very unlikely that they'll get like Last Samurai, so they just get gunned down on the charge. So once they make it into combat, the shields are really unneeded. They give a little bit of melee defense, but Cold One Chariots will do the job in dealing with any sort of like heavy infantry, and the Cold One Knights will deal with any like the large cavalry. I really like the Cold One Chariots. 84 kills. Look at that value. And a single model goes down. That's unfortunate. Oh, 2 models went down in an instant? Oh, no. Okay, just 1. And they're going to do well. Savage Orc Arrow Boys, No armor piercing versus the 110 armor of the missile chariot here, and the bleak swords along with the chariots here are going to clean up all these savage orc boys. The only thing left that my opponent really has is the orc boy bigguns, but they're going to be shot at. They're slowed. God, missed miasma. I can't say it enough, ladies and gentlemen. Miasma is one of the best spells in the game, especially for newer players like me that just have a hard time catching, don't have the micro. You need the ability to stop units in their tracks. That's why Net of Ammontok, a great spell, and Mystifying Miasma. I don't really like to use a Net of Ammontok too often. I don't like the Lore of Light too much. Net of Ammontok is about the only thing. Maybe, is Barona's Time Heaven or Light? I'm not sure, but that one's a good spell. And that's going to be the victory. Let's go into some unit statistics. Fighting Jesus himself, that was pretty good. I think the main Harganeth went. They went off. Harganeth Executors getting a chevron here. 95, 69 kills. Nice. Again, well, Harganeth are pretty well known. Greenskins are known for their infantry, so Harganeth are pretty expected to do well here. Dark Shards did their job. They did a lot of damage to those blobs of infantry, and they shot down the Orc Boar Boy Bigguns really effectively. And the Dark Riders, 73, 72 kills. They did a lot better than I expected. I think I was running a value train in general. I was pretty happy with this play, with especially, well, the Cold One Knights got crumped by Orc Boar Boy Bigguns. Orc Boar Boy Bigguns. Say that like 5 times fast. But Cold One Knights did worse than I expected, but they at least did well against one unit of Orc Boar Boy Bigguns. And Cold One Knights getting a value train, 71 kills, 92 kills, so much damage, and they still had health to spare. Just really good overall. I'm pretty happy. My opponent, he really tried. Orc Boar Boy Bigguns didn't do fantastic. I definitely expect better. But yeah, they're just not the best unit. The only one reason I would pick is like the Broken Tusk Mob. They're about the only good version of them. But let's go into a build of Greenskins against the Dark Elf matchup. Now, if you guys don't know, I like the Greenskins. They're not my favorite. They used to be one of my favorite factions, but I just grew out of favor of them as they have so many tools, but they just don't have. They don't have the hard. They do have hard hitting playstyle. I just don't like. How can I say it? I don't like the leadership problems that they face. Like, they just route so often, and I have to. A lot of the problems I have when microing Greenskins is that I just always forget to get those units routing back onto the battlefield. They're all scattered around, and I usually ends up my opponent has like 1 or 2 cavalry units and just cleans them off, shatters them. Now, in this matchup against the Dark Elves, what should you bring? Grimgore, obviously, my opponent was a little new. He didn't use his Wa very effectively, so that's a lot on his part. But against this matchup, I'll probably go hard-pressed to bring Azag the Slaughter on his mount, Skull Muncha. And I only really need Fata Buna and Spirit Leech. And if you're really hard-pressed, you can just do Spirit Leech. It's completely fine to do that. Another really good choice is Wurzog, and if you want a Mimi choice, you go Skarsnik. I'll do the Mimi choice later. Here's the more optimal build, I believe. So you're going to need some Black Orcs. It's standard set. No Dark Elf infantry can deal well with Black Orcs except Harganeth, and even Harganeth are going to have a hard time. Now, the Warlord boys and the 8 Peak Loonies are very good. I don't think I'm going to need the Warlord boys because the only armored units that are going to be a problem are Harganeth and Blackguard. And I would say Black Orcs deal with the Blackguard of Nagaron very well and only struggle against the Harganeth, but it's armor piercing. I like the front line of Night Golems, but let's see, what's this be? 31 versus 35. Yeah, go with the Goblin theme. Have a front line of Goblins. We're going to need some backline defense with Nasty Skulkers because of Chariots. Chariots were the main reason I won that matchup, and Chariots are a very good unit in the Greenskin matchup overall. Now, for Missile Infantry, the Rusty Arrers are the right choice. They're very powerful. And I don't think Savage Orc Arrow Boys are exactly, like, necessary, per se. Like, for 50 more, I suppose they do have better stats. Only slightly, really. +6. I guess it's the speed, actually. It's the +6 speed, the movement speed, that's going to be fantastic. So I can go with 2. I don't mind going. Actually, no, I'm going to go the Orc Arrow Boys. They're just more spread out. I like them better. And here goes the difference in my build. I'm going to bring Forest Goblin Spider Riders. Now, these are going to pressure the back line. I might not bring 4, maybe 3. Pressure the back line. Make sure to get into those dark shards. Make sure they don't get their value. And I did say if there is one unit that's good as the Orc Boar Boy Bigguns, it's the Broken Tusk mob. Now, so you have your front line of Night Goblins. You have Nasty Skulkers to use their Smoke Bomb to slow down their advance. Use your Black Orcs efficiently to stop the advance of Harganeth or Blackguard. Archers to screen them up. Make sure you always remember, focus fire with your archers, because the Rusty Arrows have armor sundering. So whatever unit they're firing at, they have reduced armor. So the Arrow Boys can get much more value out of their ammunition. Backline pressure, a little bit of anti-large. And what else can we bring here? I wanted to bring a unit of Trolls. Trolls are really good in the matchup against Chariots, in my experience. So maybe we can take out one unit of Spider Moms, and just bring a unit of Trolls. And I think we're good here. And since we have the extra gold, I guess we can get one unit of Savage Orc Arrow Boys, since we just have that tiny bit of extra gold and a little bit of veterancy on a Goblin. And I think that's a pretty good build right there to stop any like Dark Elf advance. As long as the wall goes off, the Night Goblins will do okay against the front line. They'll apply poison everywhere, which will be nice, especially supporting the Black Orcs. So it's okay to go Night Goblins. It's kind of a mix-up between Night Goblins and Orc Boys as their front line, but Night Goblins should do fine. And also their shields will do nice against the Dark Shard matchup. Now, if you want to go for the Mimi build, you go for Skarsnik. You do need the Prouder. You need to get Trixie Traps, that's for sure. You should get a Orc Shaman. I like, where is Footagork? Footagork, here we go. Very powerful spells. I don't think you really need anything else. I suppose you could do Brain Buster. Brain Buster is pretty good against low tier and on an Orc. Boar, and of course going to bring the Rusty Arrows along with some Orc Arrow Boys. You got to have the Night Gobos. This is a Gobbo theme, of course. And you're going to go Squigs and Trolls. You're going to go Monsters. Bring the Ragnarok Queen. What else are we missing? Of course, you need to bring the Dirk and Squigs Hopper for backline pressure, and a unit of Forest Goblin Spider Riders. Pretty nice. And since we have just enough gold left, let's change these into Night Goblin Archer Fanatics. Actually, no, that's not the choice. First, skip at that. And there. And we should be okay. What is missing here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, only 2 archers should be okay. 2, 3, 4, 5. Did I really have 5 units in my front line already? That's actually decent. I'll keep it that way, actually. I like that change. The problem is I do have 125. I can definitely get some more value for my buck. Maybe change... Do I really need this? Oh, man. I didn't bring the Warlords Boys. What am I doing here? Probably one more Goblin unit just to hold it. So this is going to be a very Mimi rush. You're going to use the ability called Trixie Traps, make everyone invisible, charge forward, make sure he gets no value, just do a huge hammer along with the ability of Wah. Make sure Squigs, the Ragnarok Queen being anti-large, should do very well, and you can summon units in the back line. Make sure he gets no value. And this should be a fun build. I should try it out sometime. But guys, thanks for watching the video. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe if you want more. I'll catch you guys later.